Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So don't miss out on claiming your free Legendary Companion Choice Pack. This comes from the Jubilee event where you have to do your minimum participation of completing one Protector's speech per day, and after 3 days we can now obtain this Legendary Companion Choice Pack. You do have some days still to catch up if you still want to obtain it. You can see it doesn't show up for us here, but as soon as we do finish this Protector's speech, obtaining our rewards, we now have quest complete, and that gives us the ability to claim the pack. When you do go and claim it, it is bound to account on pickup, so you can transfer it to other characters, and the pack gives you the option of one of the following. Now, unfortunately, none of them are account-wide, so be careful which you choose and which character you want to choose to put it on. Ultimately, let's go through each of them. What's any good? What should you say choose if you're a tank, healer, or a damage dealer, as each of these companions are vastly different. Ultimately, if you were to summon one of them, that's what I would choose here. Tanks and healers, none of them. You wouldn't summon any of them. There's not really much point. Potentially the augment companion for a healer for crit strike and power, but it's just not ideal because it's giving combat advantage as well, and so there's better ones you could use. And ultimately for endgame, you'll want to strive to min-maxing your build without an augment. For a tank as well, I wouldn't use any of them. Potentially if you want some damage, there's this one, as we do suggest using for multi-target, as generally when you're out questing, you'll want that multi-target damage to help kill groups of enemies. So if you're a tank and you're out there solo questing, sure, choose him, as I suggest for damage dealers. And for single target damage, out of all of these, the best one is the Pseudo-Dragon. There are, of course, alternatives you can use. Listed on my companion document here, there's a whole lot of viable options here. Anything from, say, 37,000 and up. I would comfortably use pretty much any of those for single target damage. Potentially go for something with range damage if you just want raw damage output, and otherwise try get ones with a support effect to help your team. But ultimately, yeah, if you were to choose from this pack, as summoned, I would go Mystagogue in multi-target and Pseudo-Dragon for single target. Again, you can only choose one of them, so make your choice. We will cover a little bit more details with regards to the Mystagogue and his multi-target damage, and again alternatives you can use, because you can get an alternative that's cost 2 gold pieces. But we then jump to their equip bonuses, and again for tank there is like a really good one here, which is the Lich. Just flat out reducing the incoming damage you take. Super good. This is going to only be 5.5% on legendary, but upgrading to mythic as it shows here, it would be 7.5%. A best in slot companion for tanks right there with that equip bonus. For healers, unfortunately none of them for equip bonus are any good. You can check all of them. Potentially the Icosahedron Stone if you just want the movement speed, but that's not going to help you with healing at all. And then for damage dealers, same pretty much there, but there is an asterisk because neither of them is like best in slot. I would use the Mystagogue. It's got the one with the both offensive stats, crit severity and combat advantage. Sure, you could potentially use it on a healer, but you are like wasting the combat advantage as it's also useless. So I wouldn't really choose him for healers either. But as damage dealers, you can make use of that, but you will be wanting to look towards getting better ones, like Batiri for single target, Spine Devil for multi-target, and then getting like your Minsk, your Neverwinter Knight, and then potentially like your Alchemist, Dark Dealer, or Golden Cat. There's, yeah, a bunch of just flat out best in slot ones, and Mystagogue is not one of them. But yes, it does give offensive stats, so that's at least better than something else you might be using if it's not just all offensive stats. But let's now dive into Mystagogue and his multi-target damage versus others. How good is he? Well, if we look at our general multi-target damage test here with dummies in the training room, then we can see Mystagogue is ranked like 26 here with like 21,000 DPS. That's basically his the average damage over the time frame. So the quicker he can complete the test, the higher DPS he'd have. You could see that compared to the others. However, he's pretty identical to the Wayward Wizard. You have just a normal Wayward Wizard and you have the Halfling Wayward Wizard. And ultimately, you can grab the Wayward Wizard for just like 2 gold pieces here in the Adventurers Guild, just from this NPC. 2 gold. You don't even have to get him upgraded. You can just have him on grey and he's going to do the same amount of damage as Mystagogue on Legendary. Companions do not improve their damage when you upgrade them. A big misconception that people fall into. So it's not important to get particularly a multi-target damage companion upgraded unless you're min-maxing for endgame. So let's just go obtain the Mystagogue from this here and show you a test that we are doing in, say, Castle's Retreat. In a previous video, you may see that I have already tested with this like Castle's Retreat initial mob group test all of these other ones, and we ranked them. I'll show you the data just as we finish this test too. Ultimately, we go here, aggro the mobs, and then, yeah, we let the companion do everything. We try position ourselves on top of the companion so we don't give him combat advantage to make it a fair test across all of them. However, we will move out of the reds because those reds actually heal the mobs if I stand in them. And otherwise, we make sure to keep him healed because these ads do kind of hurt. I did have to find a place where the ads weren't just going to kill the companion so quick, so this place works being scaled. And yeah, so ultimately Mystagogue, exactly like the Wayward Wizard, gonna stand right next to the enemies and he's just gonna use his at-will attack, which I believe is like Chilling Cloud. Yes, Chilling Cloud, and that can hit like all of them. Ooh, he's dying real quick. He can hit all of them with that then, which is good. And then he has his big slow ability, which can hit all of them as well, which is his like high damage attack, which he just used there. And so he's chipping them all down at once. He's just not the fastest, so he's not actually going to be as quick as, say, Regis or the Minotaur, but he is admirable. He does pretty well. Definitely one I would recommend in multi-target damage, and that's why I also recommend the Wayward Wizard. It's just 2 gold pieces. There's no need to try and get this guy. Sure, you're getting him for free and you're getting him already on Legendary. So if you do want to min-max and upgrade him to Mythic, it's a lot cheaper than if you were to upgrade the grey Wayward Wizard to Mythic. He has the last guy left to finish off, and that's that. So now we can see his DPS, and it was sitting there like 11,800, which is very close to what we got earlier with exactly the Wayward Wizard, where we found like 11,280. So there's only going to be like crit difference, whether he crits or not. But ultimately, yeah, he's still going to rank in that position versus the others. Mystagogue or Wayward Wizard, pretty much the same. So he's very solid. Is also pretty good because all of his attacks are multi-target and his slow area of effect is like 25 feet, so that's a good solid range as well. And he's not like a ranged attacker, he's actually going to use the Chilling Cloud right next to the enemies, despite it saying it has a range of 50 feet. He's going to try move right next to them, which is a ton more favorable than a companion who's going to try run away and be far away from the enemies all the time. So he ranks pretty solidly, and it's totally a choice I would choose from this pack if you don't already have one of these higher up multi-target companions. Like you could see potentially Wulfgar and Minsk are good on this list, but that's just with this test because the enemies come close, their area of effects are not that like wide, so they can't necessarily always hit guys that are so spread out like Wayward Wizard could, so that would make them a bit more reliable. Like Minsk has a radius, say 15 feet. Wulfgar also, I believe, also only has radius 15 feet. So he needs the enemies more tightly grouped in order to actually output that damage, versus like Mystagogue or Wayward Wizard. they can have them a bit more spread out and still be able to deal that damage. Yeah, 25 feet. So again, if you want to use one as summoned, I would just go Mystagogue for multi-target damage, Pseudo for single target damage. I would not use any of the others in that pack as summoned. Again, potentially the Icosahedron Ion Stone if you really want an augment. And then for the equip bonuses, I would use the Lich for the tank, Mystagogue for damage dealers, and then for healers, yeah, potentially Mystagogue for like if you had nothing better right now, and then you wait till you can actually get something better. But then maybe the Icosahedron Ion Stone for movement speed, the same story. You'd want to replace it down the road for something that's actually going to help you with heals. So thanks for watching. A special thank you to all these channel members, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.